So today we're going to tackle about where did the first Catholic Mass take place in the Philippines. So since we have a lot of theories about where did actually the first Catholic Mass take place, so let's find out. So history has been a way to unlock the past. We are able to know where and when a certain event happened through understanding historiographical evidences. There are two primary sources that historian refers to in order to identify the site of the first Mass in the country. We have the Francisco Albo's log and Antonio Pigafetta's account. Now, we will analyze the given evidences from Francisco Albo's, one of the pilots of Magellan's ship, and from Antonio Pigafetta, a member of Magellan's expedition and eyewitness of the event. Francisco Albo. He was Magellan's pilot, one of the 18 survivors who returned with Sebastian Elcano on the ship Victoria after circumnavigation the world. He has kept a log of the event that has occurred as the crew traveled to different places in the Philippines and around the globe. According to Albo, they went to an island named Masawa or the Limasawa. There, they planted across a Pana mountain top where they were able to overlook the three islands from west and south. Note that Masawa has the same location with Limasawa as stated in Albo's account. However, it was not mentioned in the log of whether the planting of the cross was the first Mass held here in the Philippines. Historian Pablo Pastel stated on a footnote to Francisco Collins' Labor Evangelica that Magellan did not go to Butuan but from Limasawa to Cebu. Antonio Pigafetta, a member of Magellan's expedition and eyewitness of the event, particularly with the first Mass. Pigafetta was one of the 18 men out of 240 who returned to Spain in 1522, island of Masawa. The first Mass was held on March 31, 1521. Based on Pigafetta's account, at the 20th of March of the same year, their group landed in a place called Masawa. This would mean that the first Mass happened when they were staying at the island of Masawa, Masao, Butuan, and the Masawa Island. According to Pigafetta, the first Mass was held at Masao, Butuan. If we will think of the name Masao, it was somehow near to the name Masawa, as said by Albos on his logs.
Knowing the exact place where the first Catholic Mass took place is hard, especially nowadays in which the evidences might have vanished already as the time went by. However, tackling about this discussion made me curious as I have read that there were two suspected places where the first Catholic Mass took place. The two suspected places were Limasawa and Butuan. Nevertheless, this issue was raised and already resolved by the National Historical Commission of the Philippines.
Going back, as there are historians claim that Limasawa was the place where the Mass took place, NHCP adopted the recommendation of a panel of experts confirming the findings. The panel unanimously agreed the evidences and arguments provided by the other party, Butuan, were not sufficient and convincing enough to provide the ruling affirming their side.
The issue of the exact location of the historic Mass was earlier resolved by the NHI, the forerunner of the NHCP, through two panels of experts. The first led by former Supreme Court Justice Emilio Gancayco in 1995, and the second by historian Benito Ligarda in 2008.
Both panels ruled that the site of 1521 Easter Sunday Mass was Limasawa Island. Digging deeper about the issue, the panel researched the source, which are the studies literature and the gathered copies of Antonio Pigafetta's chronicles and other accounts abroad.
They also surveyed the presumed sites of the event and consulted experts in geology and cartography and submitted its report for the review by the History Departments of various Philippines Universities, with the Frita eyewitness account in the most detailed and only surviving account of the first Mass in the Philippines, but there are different interpretations of his account on where it was held.
Sunday, March 31. Early in the morning of Sunday, the last day of March and Easter Day, Magellan sent the priest ashore with some men to prepare for the Mass. Later in the morning, Magellan landed with some 50 men and Mass was celebrated, after which a cross was venerated. Magellan and the Spaniards returned to the ship for the noonday meal, but in the afternoon, they returned ashore to plant the cross on the summit of the highest hill. In the attendance boat at the Mass, at the planting of the cross, were the King of Mazawa and the King of Butuan. Sunday, March 31. On that same afternoon, while on the summit of the highest hill, Magellan asked the two kings which ports he should go to in order to obtain more abundant supplies of foods that were available in that island. They replied that there were 3 ports to choose from: Ceylon, Zubu, and Calagan. Of the 3, Zubu was the port with the most trade. Magellan then said that he wished to go to Zubu and depart the following morning. He asked for someone to guide him thither. The kings replied that the pilots would be available anytime. But later, the evening, the King of Mazawa changed his mind and said that he would himself conduct Magellan to Zubu, but that he would first have to bring the harvest in. He asked Magellan to send him men to help with the harvest.
Per Picapeta, Chronicle of the Magellan Expedition. The Easter Sunday Mass that Expedition Chaplain Father Pedro Valderrama celebrated on March 31, 1521, happened in a place he identified as Mazawa. But according to proponents of the Mass in Limasawa, Robertson provided a footnote that the present name of Mazawa, the site of historic Mass, is Limasawa. They said Skelton also identified Limasawa as the current name of Mazawa.
With these sufficient evidences, Limasawa being the place where the first Catholic Mass took place were affirmed. Having this decision, people were hopeful that it would settle the long-time dispute on this issue. Also, people on Limasawa, especially those who were appointed to manage the place, were very expressive about how happy and honored they are to live in the place where the first Catholic Mass took place. They also claimed that it was a victory not only for Limasawa but also for the entire Eastern Visayas.